She was broke, desperate, and had just texted the wrong number asking for grocery money. Now she's staring at a marriage proposal and adoption papers from one of the richest men in the country. This is how Olivia Chen's life changed forever with one mistaken text message. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Olivia Chen sat cross-legged on her threadbare futon, staring at her phone with trembling hands. The apartment was silent except for the soft hum of the ancient refrigerator and the occasional car passing on the street below. She glanced at the sleeping form of her 4-year-old sister Maya, curled up under a thin blanket on the mattress in the corner of their studio apartment. "Just do it," she whispered to herself, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. "David, I hate to ask again, but I need $75 for groceries and Maya's medication. My paycheck doesn't come until next Friday. I promise I'll pay you back." Olivia hit send before she could change her mind, then set her phone down and buried her face in her hands. At 23, she hadn't imagined she'd be the sole guardian of her little sister, working 2 jobs while trying to finish her degree online, and still barely making ends meet. Their parents' sudden death in a car accident 8 months ago had thrust her into a role she wasn't prepared for. But Maya needed her, and that was all that mattered. Her phone buzzed with a response that made her heart stop. "I think you have the wrong number. I'm not David." Horror washed over Olivia as she checked the number. She had mistyped the last digit of her cousin's new phone number. "I'm so sorry," she typed quickly. "Please ignore that message. Wrong number." She tossed her phone aside, mortification burning through her exhaustion. The kitchen cabinets were nearly empty, and Maya's asthma medication was running dangerously low. She'd already pawned her laptop and was behind on rent. Tomorrow she would have to swallow her pride and visit the food bank again. Her phone buzzed again. Puzzled, she picked it up, expecting her cousin's response to her follow-up text, sent to the correct number this time. Instead, it was another message from the wrong number. "Is everything okay? Do you need help with groceries and medication?" Olivia stared at the message, suspicion immediately rising. She'd heard plenty of stories about predators online. "Will manage," she replied curtly. "Sorry to bother you." "I could help," came the immediate response. No strings attached. Olivia snorted. In her experience, there were always strings attached. "Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers," she wrote back. "Smart policy," the stranger replied. A moment later, "I'm Ethan. Now I'm not a stranger. What groceries do you need?" "What medication does Maya need?" Olivia froze, her blood running cold. She had never mentioned Maya's name in their exchange. How did this person know her sister's name? Her finger hovered over the block button when another message came through. "I apologize if I scared you. Your number is similar to my assistant David's. When I mentioned the wrong number text to him, he realized who you might be. He went to high school with your cousin." Small world. The explanation seemed plausible, but Olivia remained wary. Why would you help someone you don't know? In his penthouse office overlooking the Seattle skyline, Ethan Blackwood set down his phone and stared out at the rain-streaked windows. The 38-year-old CEO of Blackwood Technologies had built a fortune developing medical software systems. But lately, success felt hollow. His divorce had been finalized 6 months ago, his ex-wife citing emotional unavailability and workaholic tendencies, not untrue accusations. Why was he even considering helping this random wrong number? Perhaps it was the raw desperation in those few lines. Perhaps it was a welcome distraction from the emptiness of his personal life. Or maybe it was simply that he could, and it would make a difference to someone. "Let's just say I've been fortunate, and I remember when I wasn't," he typed. It wasn't a complete explanation, but it wasn't a lie either. Olivia's exhaustion clouded her judgment. She hadn't slept properly in days, constantly worrying about Maya, bills, school deadlines. Maya's asthma medication was expensive, even with the generic version, and they needed groceries desperately. "I don't feel right about this," she typed. "What's your Venmo?" Ethan asked. Olivia hesitated, then sent her username. What did she have to lose? She could always block this person if things got weird. Seconds later, her phone buzzed with a notification. Olivia gasped. This Ethan hadn't sent $75. He'd sent $750. "This is too much," she typed frantically. "I can't accept this." "Consider it in advance," Ethan replied. One less thing to worry about for a while. Tears sprang to Olivia's eyes, blurring her vision. She hadn't cried when the social worker had explained that either she became Maya's guardian or her sister would enter the foster system. She hadn't cried when she dropped out of in-person classes to take on a second job. She hadn't even cried when the electricity had been shut off for 3 days last month, until she could scrape together enough to pay the bill. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. But this unexpected kindness from a complete stranger broke something loose inside her. "Thank you," she typed simply, unable to find words adequate for her gratitude. "You're welcome, Olivia," Ethan replied. "Take care of Maya." It wasn't until hours later, as Olivia returned from the store with groceries and medication, that she realized something that made her blood run cold. She had never mentioned her own name to the stranger. The next morning, Olivia woke to another message from the mysterious Ethan. "Hope you and Maya had a better night. I have a proposition for you." Olivia's guard immediately went up. "Here it comes," she thought bitterly. "The strings." "What kind of proposition?" she asked warily. "Professional, not personal," came the swift reply. "I run a company called Blackwood Technologies. We're launching a new patient advocacy program and need someone who understands firsthand what it's like to navigate the healthcare system while caring for a family member. Your cousin mentioned you're studying health administration online." Olivia nearly dropped her phone. "How do you know what I'm studying? How much has my cousin told you about me?" Her heart raced as she checked her social media profiles, all set to private. Who was this person? "I apologize for the intrusion." Ethan wrote, "After our conversation, I was curious. Your number is very similar to my assistant David's. When I mentioned the wrong number text to him, he realized who you must be from the details. He knows your cousin well, and he's mentioned your situation before. I hope you don't find this too unsettling." It was a reasonable explanation, but still discomforting. Olivia glanced at Maya, who was coloring contentedly at their small table, looking healthier already after a good meal and her medication. "So this was all just coincidence?" she typed. "Completely," Ethan confirmed, "but perhaps a fortunate one for both of us. We genuinely need someone with your perspective for this program. It's a full-time position with benefits, including health insurance. Would you be interested in interviewing?" Olivia's mind raced. It seemed too perfect, too convenient. Yet her cousin did indeed know plenty of people from his corporate job. She'd been sending out resumes for weeks with no response. Could she really afford to turn down this opportunity out of suspicion? "I'd be interested in hearing more," she finally replied cautiously, "but I have Maya to consider. I'm her legal guardian. We offer flexible hours and have an on-site childcare facility for employees." Ethan wrote back immediately, "Come in tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. I'll tell reception to expect you." As Olivia prepared Maya's breakfast, she couldn't shake the feeling that something about this situation wasn't adding up. The coincidence seemed too perfect, the timing too convenient. But with their savings depleted and rent overdue, did she really have the luxury of looking this gift horse in the mouth? What she didn't know was that across town, Ethan Blackwood was having second thoughts about his impulsive decision, wondering if he'd overstepped boundaries in a way that would come back to haunt them both. The Blackwood Technologies headquarters loomed above Olivia like a gleaming monolith of glass and steel. She adjusted Maya's backpack, straightened her only professional blouse, thrifted but still presentable, and pushed through the revolving doors. The security guard at the front desk smiled as she approached. "Olivia Chen?" he asked before she could speak. At her surprised nod, he continued, "Mr. Blackwood's office is on the top floor. Jennifer will meet you at the elevator." The smooth efficiency with which she was escorted through the building only heightened Olivia's sense of unreality. This wasn't how job interviews usually went, especially not for patient advocacy positions. A poised woman in her early 40s met her as promised and led her not to a conference room or HR office but directly to a corner suite with views that made Olivia momentarily forget her anxiety. "He'll be with you shortly," Jennifer said, gesturing to a sitting area. "Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? And perhaps some juice for the little one." "Water would be nice, thank you." "And yes, juice for Maya if it's not too much trouble," Olivia replied, settling Maya with her coloring book on the soft leather couch beside her. The office was surprisingly warm for a CEO's lair. Family photos dotted the desk, though Olivia noticed most featured the same teenage boy in various outdoor settings. Books lined one wall, not just business titles but fiction, philosophy, and surprisingly, several volumes on childhood development and psychology. "She has a beautiful smile," came a deep voice from the doorway. Olivia turned to find a tall man watching them with kind eyes. His expensive suit couldn't hide the athletic build beneath, and the silver at his temples gave him a distinguished look that softened what might otherwise have been an intimidating presence. "Mr. Blackwood," she said, standing quickly. "Thank you for seeing me." "Ethan, please," he corrected, moving forward to shake her hand. His grip was firm but brief. "And thank you for coming in on such short notice." Maya looked up from her coloring book, studying the newcomer with solemn eyes. To Olivia's surprise, Ethan crouched down to her level. "Hello, Maya, I'm Ethan. That's a beautiful picture you're coloring." Maya, usually shy around strangers, beamed. "It's a dragon. But a nice one, not a scary one." "The very best kind," Ethan agreed seriously before straightening and turning back to Olivia. There was an awkward pause as they both seemed to acknowledge the strange circumstances that had brought them together. "I should explain yesterday's texts," he said finally, taking a seat across from her. "I don't make a habit of sending money to wrong numbers." "And I don't make a habit of accepting it," Olivia countered, finding her voice. "I'm still not entirely comfortable with how this all happened." Ethan nodded, respecting her directness. "Fair enough. The truth is your message came at a particular moment." He glanced toward one of the photographs on his desk. "Yesterday was my son's birthday. He would have been 16. Olivia's breath caught. "I'm so sorry." "Cancer," Ethan said quietly, his eyes drifting to Maya. "Lucas fought for 2 years. That's actually why I started the patient advocacy program. Too many families struggle not just with the illness, but with the system itself." The explanation disarmed Olivia. The suspicion she'd been nursing, that this was some elaborate setup, or worse, that he expected something inappropriate in return for his help, began to dissolve. "And the job?" she asked cautiously. "Completely legitimate," he assured her. "The connection with your cousin was coincidental. But when David realized who you were, he mentioned your situation. He's been concerned about you." Olivia felt a flush of embarrassment. David doesn't know how bad things got. I didn't want to worry him when he's just starting his family. "Family pride," Ethan noted with understanding. "I know something about that too." He handed her a folder. "These are the details of the position. Full benefits, competitive salary. The program launches in 3 months, but we need people on board now for training and development." Olivia scanned the documents, her health administration background immediately recognizing the comprehensive nature of the program. The salary was more than she'd dared hope for, enough to provide stability for Maya and herself, with the flexibility to eventually complete her degree. "This is very generous," she said cautiously. "We pay for quality and perspective," Ethan replied simply. "Your education, combined with your personal experience as a caregiver, makes you precisely the kind of advocate we need." Jennifer returned with water, coffee, and a small juice box for Maya, providing Olivia a moment to collect her thoughts. The job was real. The salary would solve her immediate financial crisis. But something still nagged at her. "Why didn't you just tell me who you were from the beginning?" she asked after Jennifer left. "In the texts." Ethan sipped his coffee, considering. "Would you have believed me?" "Hi, I'm a CEO, let me help you." "Probably not," Olivia admitted. "And then there's the fact that this is rather unorthodox." He added, "The board would have questions about me personally reaching out to a candidate." Maya tugged on Olivia's sleeve, whispering loudly that she needed the bathroom. "May I?" Olivia asked, gesturing to a door near his desk. "Of course," Ethan said. "There's a private washroom through there." As Olivia helped Maya with the bathroom visit, her mind raced through her options. The job seemed legitimate. The company was reputable. She'd looked it up on her phone during the subway ride. And yet the circumstances remained strange. Enough to give her pause. When they returned, Ethan was on the phone, his voice low and tense. "I don't care what the board thinks. We promised these families a system that would actually help them navigate treatment options. That's the entire point of the program." He caught sight of Olivia and quickly ended the call. "Sorry about that," he said. Launching new initiatives always comes with resistance. Olivia settled back on the couch with Maya beside her. "It sounds complicated." "Business usually is," he replied, watching as Maya returned to her coloring. "She seems well adjusted, considering what you've both been through." "Kids are resilient," Olivia said softly. "And I've tried to keep things as stable as possible." "It hasn't been easy." Ethan's expression softened. "You're doing an admirable job under difficult circumstances." The conversation shifted to the specifics of the job, hours, responsibilities, the program's goals. Olivia found herself relaxing as they discussed the healthcare navigation challenges she knew all too well. This at least made sense to her. "One last thing," Ethan said as their meeting drew to a close. "The on-site childcare is excellent, but until a spot opens for Maya, would you be comfortable working from my executive suite? There's a small conference room you could use, and Maya would be welcome. Jennifer's daughter is just a year older. They might enjoy playing together when she visits." The offer took Olivia by surprise. "That's unusually accommodating." "We need your perspective," Ethan replied, though something in his expression suggested there was more to it. "And I've found that talent performs best when not worried about logistics." As if on cue, Jennifer appeared at the door. "Mr. Blackwood, your 11:30 is waiting." Ethan stood, extending his hand again. "So Olivia Chen, do we have a deal?" Olivia hesitated only briefly before taking his hand. "Yes, thank you for the opportunity." "Perfect. Jennifer will help you with the paperwork. You can start Monday." He paused at the door. "And Olivia, the $750 was a gift, not an advance. No need to pay it back." Before she could protest, he was gone, leaving Olivia with the distinct impression that her life had just changed course in ways she couldn't yet imagine. What she didn't see was Ethan stopping in the hallway, removing a photo from his wallet, a woman holding a baby girl, and staring at it with a complex mixture of emotions, before tucking it away and straightening his shoulders to meet his next appointment. As she followed Jennifer to complete her paperwork, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Ethan Blackwood's interest in her than just her qualifications for the patient advocacy program. The job was a godsend, but the man himself was an enigma, and Olivia sensed that unraveling that mystery might be more complicated than she was prepared for. 2 weeks into her new position at Blackwood Technologies, Olivia had settled into a routine that still felt surreal. Each morning, she and Maya would take the elevator to the top floor, where Jennifer would greet them with a warm smile and often a cup of coffee for Olivia. The small conference room adjacent to Ethan's office had been transformed into a comfortable workspace complete with a child-sized desk for Maya, stocked with art supplies and educational toys. The patient advocacy program was challenging but engaging work. Olivia was part of a team developing protocols to help families navigate the complex healthcare system, identifying gaps where patients often fell through the cracks. Her personal experience caring for Maya gave her insights that impressed her colleagues, many of whom had medical or administrative backgrounds, but lacked the perspective of someone who had struggled on the other side of the system. "You've completely transformed our intake assessment," remarked Dr. Patel, the program's medical director, during a team meeting. "Adding those questions about transportation and childcare barriers will help us identify vulnerable families much." Earlier in the process, Olivia felt a flush of pride. For the first time since her parents' death, she felt like she was doing more than just surviving. She was making a meaningful contribution. Maya was thriving too. The little girl had adapted quickly to their new routine, looking forward to days spent in the special office where Jennifer's daughter Zoe would occasionally visit. The two girls had become fast friends, and Maya's previously frequent asthma attacks had decreased significantly now that they had reliable access to her medication. What Olivia couldn't quite figure out was Ethan Blackwood himself. The CEO was an enigma, brilliant and demanding in business meetings, yet surprisingly gentle with Maya. He made a point of stopping by Olivia's workspace each day, often bringing small gifts for Maya, a book, a stuffed animal, once even a tiny lab coat when she mentioned wanting to be a doctor, like the ones who help kids get better. "You don't need to do this," Olivia had told him after the lab coat incident, feeling uncomfortable with the special attention. "I know," he'd replied simply. "I want to." There was something in his eyes when he looked at Maya that I could not quite decipher, a sadness that went beyond the grief of losing his own son. I had caught him once watching us through the glass wall of the conference room with an expression so complex it made my heart twist unexpectedly. Today, as I worked on a particularly challenging section of the program manual, I noticed Ethan in what appeared to be an intense conversation with a striking woman in an expensive suit. They stood in his office, the woman gesturing emphatically, while Ethan maintained a rigid posture, shaking his head firmly. Through the glass I could not hear their words, but the tension was palpable. "Do not mind them." That is Victoria Hayes, the head of the board. She and Ethan rarely see eye to eye on program funding. She looks angry. Victoria operates purely on profit margins. She does not understand why Ethan insists on pushing this program forward when there are more lucrative ventures to pursue. Between us, Victoria was strongly opposed to your hiring. Me specifically. Why would the board chair even know about a mid-level hire? It is complicated. Before I could press further, the door to Ethan's office flew open, and Victoria Hayes stormed out, pausing briefly to stare through the glass at me and Maya. Her gaze was cold, assessing before she turned sharply and disappeared down the hallway to the elevators. Moments later, Ethan appeared at my door, his expression carefully composed. "Sorry about that. How is the manual coming along?" "Almost finished with the emergency protocol section. Is everything okay?" That looked intense. "Just the usual board politics. Nothing for you to worry about." The lady looked mad. "Sometimes grown-ups disagree about important things. But it is okay to disagree as long as you are respectful about it." Was she respectful? She has her own way of expressing herself. "It is almost lunchtime. Why do not you two join me today? There is something I would like to discuss with you, Olivia." The corporate dining room on the 38th floor offered panoramic views of the city. As we settled at a private table in the corner, I could not help feeling out of place among the executives in their designer clothes. Though my wardrobe had improved significantly since starting at Blackwood Technologies, I still felt like an imposter in this world of wealth and power. Maya, however, was completely at ease, chatting animatedly to Ethan about her morning's art project, a family of dragons that apparently needed assistance with healthcare navigation. The baby dragon has trouble breathing fire, so they need help finding a dragon doctor. That sounds like exactly the kind of family our program could help. As we finished our meal, Ethan's expression grew more serious. "Olivia, there is something I need to tell you about the program." My stomach tightened. Was I about to be let go? Had Victoria Hayes convinced the board to cut the program entirely? The board has concerns. They are questioning the financial viability of offering such comprehensive support services. I see. And what does that mean for the team? It means I need your help. The quarterly board meeting is next week. I want you to present our progress, specifically the cost-benefit analysis. You have been working on showing how comprehensive early intervention actually reduces long-term healthcare costs. Present to the board. But I have only been here 2 weeks, which makes you the perfect person to do it. You are not just another corporate voice, you bring authentic perspective both professionally and personally. Victoria and her allies respond to data, but they need to see the human impact too. The thought of presenting to a room full of executives made my palms sweat. I do not know Ethan. That is way above my pay grade. I would not ask if I did not believe you could do it. The truth is, this program means a lot to me, and not just because of Lucas. There's something else you should know. But before he could continue, his phone buzzed with an urgent message. His expression changed as he read it. "I am sorry, there is an emergency with our West Coast servers. I need to handle this. Jennifer can take Maya back to the office. Could you join me in the server room once she is settled?" An hour later, after the technical crisis had been averted, I found Ethan in his office staring out at the city skyline. He seemed lost in thought, his usual commanding presence subdued. "You wanted to tell me something about why the program is so important to you. What do you know about my family, Olivia?" The question caught me off guard. "Not much. I know you lost your son to cancer. I assume you are divorced since you wear no ring, but have mentioned my ex-wife in passing. Rebecca and I separated after Lucas died. Grief affects people differently. Hers turned inward, mine outward. Neither of us was wrong, just incompatible in our pain. Lucas, the day he was born. He has your eyes, had, but that is not what I needed to tell you. This is my sister May." My breath caught. The woman in the photo bore a striking resemblance to myself, the same heart-shaped face, the same distinctive arch of the eyebrows. She was adopted from China as an infant. We grew up together, inseparable, despite having no biological connection. She died in childbirth 16 years ago, along with her husband in a car accident on the way to the hospital. Their daughter survived. What are you saying? My niece was adopted by a couple, the Chens, who were friends of my sister's husband. I tried to adopt her myself, but I was young, single, deemed unsuitable by the courts. The Chens were good people, they loved her, so I respected their wishes and kept my distance. You are saying, I have been searching for you since your parents died, Olivia. When that text came through, it was not just a wrong number. It was the culmination of months of private investigators trying to locate you and Maya after you disappeared from your parents' house. The social services records were sealed, and you had moved several times. Maya is not your sister. She is your daughter, and I am her great-uncle. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. That is impossible. My parents told me Maya was my sister. They adopted her when I was 19. They were trying to protect you both. They legally adopted her to give her their name, but Maya is your biological daughter, born when you were just 17. My investigators found the original birth records. Memories flooded back my study abroad year that was actually spent in a private facility for pregnant teens. My parents' insistence on keeping the adoption quiet their fierce protection of both girls. It had never occurred to me to question their story. Why did not you just tell me this from the beginning? Why the elaborate charade with the job? Would you have believed me? A stranger claiming to be your long-lost uncle telling you that your sister is actually your daughter. Or would you have disappeared again to protect Maya? So you manipulated me, created a job for me. The job is real. The program is real. Your qualifications are real. I just expedited the process of finding you. Olivia, I have respected the Chun's boundaries for years. But when I learned they had died and you were struggling alone, I could not stay away any longer. You and Maya are my only remaining family. This is too much. I need time to process this. Of course. Take all the time you need. The job is yours regardless of our connection. I promise you that. As I turned to leave, he added softly, she has May's smile, you know. I noticed it the first time I saw her. I fled to the conference room, finding Maya happily playing with Jennifer's daughter. The sight of the little girl, my daughter, not my sister, brought fresh tears to my eyes. How had I not seen it? The resemblance was obvious now that I knew to look for it. Olivia, are you okay? Did you know about Maya, about me? Not until recently. Ethan confided in me after you started here. He has been searching for you for so long. Why did not he find us before? Before my parents, the Chuns, died. Before we ended up nearly homeless. He tried, but your parents were very protective of your privacy. They moved several times, changed phone numbers. They were good people who thought they were doing what was best. And what about Victoria Hayes? Why is she so opposed to me being here? Victoria and Ethan have a complicated history. She was Rebecca's friend, first took her side in the divorce. She believes Ethan's obsession with finding you and Maya is unhealthy, that he is trying to replace the family he lost. Is he? I do not think it is that simple. Ethan loved his sister deeply. Losing her, then being denied the chance to raise her child, left a wound that never healed. Then losing Lucas, he is not trying to replace anyone. He is trying to fulfill a promise he made to May before she died, to look after her child if anything ever happened to her. I watched Maya, my daughter, laughing with Zoe. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my identity, had been appended in the span of minutes. Yet one thing remained constant, my fierce love and protection for the little girl who depended on me. I need to get out of here. I cannot face him right now. Take the rest of the day. Go home, process this. Your job will be waiting for you tomorrow, whatever you decide about Ethan's revelation. As I gathered Maya and our belongings, I noticed Ethan watching us from his office, his expression a complex mixture of hope and fear. He made no move to stop us, simply nodding in acknowledgement of my need for space. That evening, as Maya slept in our apartment, significantly nicer than our previous studio, thanks to my Blackwood Technologies salary, I searched through the few family photos I had salvaged after my parents' death. Looking at them with new eyes, I could see what I had missed before, the subtle similarities between myself and Maya that went beyond what would be expected of sisters. My mother's protective hand always resting on her shoulder in photos taken during my supposed pregnancy with Maya, the absence of any adoption paperwork among my parents' meticulous records. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. I understand you need space. Just know that whatever you decide about our family connection, your position at Blackwood is secure. You have earned it on your own merits. As I stared at the message, another one arrived. There is a letter from your mother, from Anna Chun, in my possession. She gave it to my private investigator shortly before the accident, in case anything ever happened to them. It is yours whenever you are ready. My finger hovered over the reply button, emotions warring within me. Anger at the deception, both my parents' and Ethan's. Confusion about my own identity. Fear about what this meant for Maya's future. But beneath it all, a strange sense of relief at finally understanding Why I had always felt such a powerful, almost painful love for my sister. Before I could decide how to respond, my phone rang, not Ethan, but Jennifer. "I am sorry to bother you at home, but there is something you need to know. Victoria Hayes has called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. She is moving to terminate the patient advocacy program entirely. Can she do that? With enough board support, yes. And she has been lobbying hard. Ethan is fighting it, but he is distracted emotional after today's revelation. Victoria is using that against him, suggesting he is making business decisions based on personal attachments. Which he is, yes and no. Ed Ethan genuinely believes in this program. He has been working toward it since before he found you. But Victoria is twisting the narrative, making it seem like the entire thing was just a pretext to bring you into the company. I thought of the families who would benefit from the program, children like Maya, who needed advocates to help them navigate a complex and often uncaring system. Whatever my feelings about Ethan's deception, I could not let the program die because of our personal drama. What time is the meeting? 9 a.m. in the main boardroom. You will come. I will be there. With the presentation Ethan requested. And Jennifer, thank you for calling. After hanging up, I turned back to my laptop, pushing aside my personal turmoil to focus on the task at hand. The program was bigger than me, bigger than Ethan and our complicated family connection. It was about making real change for vulnerable families. As I worked into the night preparing my presentation with the determination born of both professional pride and personal passion, I realized something important. Whatever his motivations, whatever truths he had withheld, Ethan had given me the opportunity to make a meaningful difference. The job was real. My skills were real. The impact I could have was real. My phone buzzed again with another message from Ethan. Whatever you decide about tomorrow about us, please know this, I am proud of you. May would be too. I set the phone aside without responding, returning to my work with renewed focus. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges professionally and personally. For tonight I would prepare to fight for a program that mattered regardless of how it had come into my life. What I did not know was that across town Ethan Blackwood was also awake, staring at a legal document on his desk, adoption papers he had had drawn up weeks ago, hoping for a moment that might never come now that the truth had fractured the fragile trust between us. The boardroom of Blackwood Technologies fell silent as I concluded my presentation. For 20 minutes I had walked the executives through data projections and case studies demonstrating how the patient advocacy program would not only fulfill their corporate social responsibility, but potentially revolutionize healthcare navigation while generating sustainable revenue through partnerships with insurance providers. In summary, this program represents an opportunity to transform Blackwood Technologies from a software provider into a true healthcare partner. It is not just good ethics, it is good business. Impressive presentation, Ms. Chen. Surprisingly comprehensive. For someone who has been with the company for 2 weeks. The emphasis on my short tenure was not lost on anyone in the room. I met Victoria's gaze without flinching. Sometimes fresh eyes see opportunities that might be overlooked by those who have grown accustomed to the status quo. Indeed. And speaking of fresh perspectives, perhaps you could explain why Mr. Blackwood seemed to identify you as the perfect candidate for this position with such remarkable speed. Your resume, while adequate, hardly suggests the experience level typically required for program development at Blackwood. Ethan, seated at the head of the table, started to intervene, but I raised my hand slightly. I could fight this battle myself. My qualifications include direct experience navigating the healthcare system as a caregiver, advanced studies in health administration, and a perspective that complements the clinical expertise already present on the team. Mr. Blackwood recognized the value of diverse viewpoints in creating a truly effective program. But if my credentials are the board's primary concern, I am happy to have that discussion separately from the program's merits. Several board members nodded appreciatively at my composure. An older gentleman at the far end of the table, Dr. Richardson, according to his nameplate, cleared his throat. I have reviewed Ms. Chun's analysis thoroughly. Her projections are sound conservative even. I believe this program has significant potential, both philanthropically and financially. He glanced at Victoria. I move that we approve the pilot program as outlined with quarterly performance reviews. The funding allocation is within the innovation budget already approved last quarter. No additional appropriations required for the pilot phase. A vote was called. One by one, hands raised around the table. When the final count was tallied, the program had been approved by a margin of 7-3, with Victoria and her closest allies the only dissenters. Congratulations, Ms. Chun, Dr. Richardson said as the meeting adjourned. Your passion for this project is evident. I look forward to seeing what your team accomplishes. As the board members filed out, Victoria lingered, approaching Olivia with a tightly controlled expression. You've won this round, she said quietly. But I wonder if you really understand what you've gotten yourself into with Ethan Blackwood. I understand the importance of this program, Olivia replied evenly. Victoria's laugh was cold. The program is secondary. You're being used, Miss Chun, whether you realize it or not. Ethan has a habit of trying to save people, particularly young women with children who remind him of his failures. Before Olivia could respond, Victoria continued. Did he tell you about Sophia and her daughter? The single mother he rescued with a job 3 years ago? Or Melissa and her son before that? Ask him what happened when they didn't fit his fantasy of family redemption. With that parting shot, Victoria strode from the room, leaving Olivia stunned and confused. Ethan approached cautiously, aware of the exchange that had just occurred. Victoria has always excelled at psychological warfare, he said with forced lightness. Your presentation was exceptional, Olivia. You've secured the program's future. Who are Sophia and Melissa? Olivia asked directly. Ethan's expression tightened. Former employees. Victoria is implying something sinister where there was nothing but professional relationships. Were they single mothers you specifically sought out to hire? His hesitation told her everything. It wasn't like that, he finally said. Yes. I've made a point of creating opportunities for single parents. It's something I believe in. But I never misled them about their qualifications or position. Just about your motivations, Olivia finished for him. She gathered her presentation materials, needing distance. I need to check on Maya. Olivia, wait. Ethan blocked her path gently. Victoria is trying to drive a wedge between us. Whatever you're thinking, what I'm thinking, Olivia interrupted, is that I don't know what's real anymore. The job, my qualifications. Are you collecting vulnerable women with children as some kind of twisted hobby? Pain flashed across his face. That's not fair. Neither is manipulating people's lives, Ethan. She pushed past him, hurrying toward the executive suite where Jennifer was watching Maya. The revelation about her relationship with Maya was still raw. And now Victoria's insinuations added another layer of doubt about everything in her new life. Jennifer looked up as Olivia entered, immediately reading her distress. The presentation went well, she said, making it a statement rather than a question. But something else happened. Victoria Hayes happened, Olivia replied, keeping her voice low as Maya played nearby. She mentioned other women, Sophia, Melissa, implying Ethan has a pattern of rescuing single mothers. Jennifer sighed deeply. Victoria excels at half-truths. Yes, Ethan has hired single parents over the years, men and women. He believes in second chances, especially for those caring for children alone. She hesitated. But with Sophia, it became complicated. She misinterpreted his kindness as romantic interest. When he clarified the boundaries, she left the company. And Melissa relocated when her ex-husband sought joint custody. Ethan helped her find a position with a partner company in her new city. Jennifer studied Olivia's face. He's not collecting vulnerable women, Olivia. He's trying to atone for not being able to help his sister when she needed him most. The explanation made sense, yet doubt lingered. Why didn't he tell me this himself? Because Ethan Blackwood, for all his success, is terrible at explaining his own emotions, Jennifer replied with surprising frankness. He acts from instinct and justifies it later, even to himself. Maya looked up from her play, sensing the tension. Olivia? Are you sad? The innocent question nearly broke her. How did she explain to this child, her daughter, not her sister, that everything about their relationship was built on layers of deception, however well-intentioned? Not sad, sweetie, just thinking about some grown-up stuff. She managed a smile. How about we take a break? There's a park nearby we could visit. Jennifer glanced at her watch. Actually, Ethan scheduled a surprise for Maya today. The Children's Science Museum is doing a private demonstration of their new medical exhibit in an hour. He thought she'd enjoy seeing the interactive displays about how the body works. Another decision made without consulting me, Olivia muttered. He planned it before everything happened, Jennifer explained. The museum director is a personal friend. It's a rare opportunity. Maya, who had overheard, looked up with excitement. Can we go see the museum, please? I want to learn about hearts and lungs and stuff. Faced with Maya's enthusiasm, Olivia relented. All right, but this is the last surprise I'm accepting without prior discussion. The museum visit proved to be a welcome distraction. Maya was enchanted by the interactive exhibits, particularly the oversized heart model that visitors could walk through, following the path of blood circulation. The museum director, Dr. Winters, guided them personally, explaining complex concepts in child-friendly terms. Your daughter has a natural scientific curiosity, she commented to Olivia during a moment when Maya was absorbed in operating a simulated surgical robot. The word daughter sent a jolt through Olivia. She's always been fascinated by medicine, she replied, not correcting the assumption. Ethan mentioned she has asthma. We've included respiratory health in our new exhibit specifically to help children understand conditions like asthma and allergies. Olivia nodded, wondering how many details of their lives Ethan had shared with his various contacts. The thought made her uncomfortable, yet she couldn't deny that this experience was perfect for Maya, educational, engaging, and confidence-building as she mastered each interactive display. As the tour concluded, Dr. Winters presented Maya with a child-sized lab coat embroidered with her name, another pre-arranged gesture from Ethan. Maya's face lit up as she immediately put it on, proudly identifying herself as Dr. Maya to everyone they passed. Returning to Blackwood Technologies, Olivia wasn't surprised to find Ethan waiting in her workspace. What did surprise her was the manila envelope in his hands and his uncharacteristically hesitant demeanor. Maya, why don't you show Jennifer your new lab coat? Olivia suggested. I need to talk to Mr. Blackwood for a few minutes. Once they were alone, Ethan spoke first. I've been unfair to you, he admitted. Bringing you into this situation without full disclosure, allowing you to form attachments to the company, to the program, to me, without knowing the complete truth. He extended the envelope. This is the letter from Anna Chun I mentioned. She wrote it when she first learned of her terminal illness before the accident. She intended for you to have it when you turned 25, but circumstances. Olivia took the envelope with trembling hands. You've read it? No, Ethan said firmly. That was never my right. I only know what Anna told me when she provided it, that it contains the truth about Maya's birth and her wishes for both of you. Olivia stared at the sealed envelope, her mother's handwriting instantly recognizable on the front, for Olivia, when the time is right. I've also brought this, Ethan continued, placing a legal document on the table. It's a formal acknowledgement of your status as Maya's biological mother and legal guardian. My lawyers have prepared it to ensure that no one, including myself, can't ever challenge your parental rights. It requires only your signature to be filed with the court. Olivia looked up in surprise. Why would you do this? Because whatever happens between us, whatever you decide about me being in your lives, Maya belongs with you. You've been her mother in every way that matters. The gesture pierced through layers of Olivia's defenses. It was perhaps the first completely selfless action she'd witnessed from him, securing her relationship with Maya without asking for anything in return. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything now, Ethan replied. Read your mother's letter. Take all the time you need. The documents will be ready whenever you are. He turned to leave but paused at the door. For what it's worth, I never saw you as a project or a redemption story. From the moment I realized who you were, I simply wanted to help my sister's daughter and granddaughter. Everything else, the job, the program, those were opportunities I could provide. But your success with them has been entirely your own. After he left, Olivia sat staring at the envelope for long minutes. Part of her wanted to tear it open. Immediately, another part feared what truths it might contain. Finally, she slipped it into her bag. This wasn't something to read in an office, no matter how private. Some revelations demanded the safety of home. That evening, after settling Maya with a new book from the museum gift shop, Olivia finally opened her mother's letter. The familiar handwriting brought an immediate ache of loss. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, it means I am no longer with you, and the time has come for you to know the complete truth about our family. I have asked Ethan Blackwood to safeguard this letter until you were ready, a man I have kept at a distance, but whose integrity I have never doubted. First and foremost, you must know that your father and I have loved you with our whole hearts from the moment you came into our lives. The decisions we made were always with your best interests at heart, even when they required difficult deceptions. Maya is your biological daughter born when you were 17. You may have already begun to suspect this truth as the resemblance grows stronger each year. What you cannot remember, what we prayed you would never have to recall, is the trauma that surrounded her conception. The letter detailed what I had suppressed a sexual assault during a high school party, my parents' decision to send me to a private treatment facility when the resulting trauma and pregnancy became apparent, the birth that I had experienced in a dissociative state. The doctors had diagnosed me with temporary traumatic amnesia, a blessing my parents chose not to disrupt when I returned home with no memory of the pregnancy or birth. We made the decision to adopt Maya legally as our own child, to raise her as your sister, to protect you both from the stigma and pain of the truth. Perhaps this was wrong. Perhaps we should have helped you face the reality and heal properly. But seeing you smile again, watching you bond with Maya as your baby sister, we convinced ourselves we had made the right choice. What we never anticipated was how the truth would become increasingly difficult to contain as you both grew, or that we might not be here to manage the complications that arose. Ethan Blackwood is Maya's great uncle, the brother of her biological grandmother. He sought custody when Maya was born, but we feared his connection would eventually force you to confront memories you were not ready to face. We kept him at a distance with legal barriers, though he never stopped checking on your welfare from afar. He is a complicated man with his own burdens of grief and guilt, but his concern for you and Maya has always been genuine. Whether you choose to accept him into your lives is a decision only you can make now. What matters most is this: you have been Maya's mother from the beginning in every way that truly counts. The love between you is real and has never been based on deception, only on the deep connection that formed instantly between you. I am so proud of the woman you have become, Olivia. Your strength, your resilience, your capacity for love, despite the wounds you have carried unknowingly, these define you far more than the circumstances of Maya's birth. Whatever you decide about your future, about how much of this truth to share with Maya when she is older, know that you have always been our greatest joy and Maya our greatest blessing. Trust yourself. You have everything you need to create a beautiful life for both of you. With eternal love, Mom." Tears streamed down my face as pieces of my life rearranged themselves into a new pattern. Fragments of memories surfaced disjointed. Images I had always dismissed as strange dreams, emotional responses that had seemed disproportionate, the overwhelming protectiveness I had felt for Maya from our first meeting. I moved to Maya's bedroom doorway, watching the sleeping child, my daughter, with new awareness. The love I felt had not changed, but my understanding of its source had transformed completely. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. No pressure, but "I am here if you want to talk after reading the letter." For the first time since learning the truth, I felt something other than confusion or anger toward him. Anna's letter had painted a more nuanced picture of his involvement. A man kept at arm's length while trying to honor his sister's memory, watching from a distance as his niece and great-niece struggled after losing their support system. I typed, "Back, I need tonight to process. But tomorrow I think we should talk. Really talk. No more half-truths or omissions." His response came quickly. "I will clear my schedule. Name the time and place." "Not the office. Somewhere neutral. The botanical garden at 10 a.m. Maya loves the butterfly pavilion. Perfect. And Olivia. Thank you for being willing to talk. It means more than you know." As I prepared for bed, I reflected on the whirlwind my life had become. 3 weeks ago, I had been broke and desperate, sending a text to a wrong number. Now I had a meaningful career, financial stability, and a completely transformed understanding of my relationship with Maya. And tomorrow, I would meet with a man who was either manipulating my life for his own emotional needs or genuinely trying to connect with his only remaining family, perhaps both simultaneously. The truth, I suspected, lay somewhere in the complicated middle ground where most human motivations resided. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: I was done being a passive recipient of other people's decisions about my life. From now on, I would write my own story with Maya at its center. The butterfly pavilion at Seattle's Botanical Garden buzzed with life as Maya raced from display to display, her excitement infectious as brilliantly colored wings fluttered around her. Ethan arrived precisely at 10 a.m., dressed casually in jeans and a light sweater, rather than his usual business attire, a deliberate choice, I suspected, to differentiate this meeting from our professional relationship. She looks happy. She is happy. Whatever else has happened, whatever truths have been hidden or revealed, Maya has always been loved. That is her foundation. We found a quiet bench near the center of the pavilion where we could talk while keeping Maya in sight as she explored. I read my mother's letter. It filled in many blanks, but I still have questions for you. I will answer everything as honestly as I can. When did you first learn about me? About Maya. I knew about the pregnancy from the beginning. May, my sister, had remained in contact with some friends from the Chinese American community, including the Chens. When they made the decision to adopt their teenage daughter's baby, May recognized their names from her childhood. After May died, I tried to maintain a connection to her memory by checking on her friends' families. That is how I learned about Maya. And you sought custody. I did. Not to take her from you. I knew nothing about the circumstances of her birth then. But because I had just lost my sister and her husband. Maya was their only child, my only remaining connection to May. The Chuns had legal standing as the adoptive parents, and they were adamant about keeping me at a distance. Why? They believed contact with me might eventually force you to confront memories of the pregnancy. According to your mother's letter, you had no recollection of it. Traumatic amnesia, apparently. I still do not remember much, just fragments. But that does not explain the wrong number text. That was genuine coincidence. Complete coincidence. I have had that private number for years. When I saw your name and the mention of needing money for a child, I recognized it immediately. I had been searching for you since learning of the Chun's deaths, but you had moved several times, changed numbers. The private investigators I hired had hit dead ends. So you manipulated the situation to bring me into your company, your life. I created an opportunity. One that matched your actual qualifications and needs. The choice to accept was always yours. Maya ran up to us, breathless with excitement. Olivia, Uncle Ethan, I saw a butterfly come out of its chrysalis. The lady said it was just born. The term Uncle Ethan caught us both by surprise. Maya had clearly adopted it from overhearing something, though neither of us had explained any family connection to her. That is amazing, sweetheart. Why do not you go see if any others are emerging? As Maya skipped away, Ethan's expression reflected both wonder and uncertainty. She called me uncle. Kids absorb everything. She must have overheard something at the office. Does it bother you? I considered the question honestly. A week ago, it would have. Now I do not know. She deserves to know her family, whatever complicated form it takes. We watched Maya in silence for a moment, before I continued. Your ex-wife Victoria's insinuations about other single mothers you have hired, I need to understand if there is a pattern I am not seeing. Rebecca and I divorced after Lucas died. Grief destroyed what was already a struggling marriage. She believed I became obsessed with finding you and Maya as a replacement for our loss. She was not entirely wrong. After losing Lucas, the idea that May's granddaughter existed somewhere became increasingly important to me. And the other women Victoria mentioned. I have made it a policy to create opportunities for single parents, men and women, whenever possible. Sophia was a programmer who had been out of the workforce for 5 years, raising her daughter alone. Melissa was an engineer fleeing an abusive relationship with her son. Victoria twisted these situations to suggest some kind of predatory pattern, but there has never been anything inappropriate. Sophia developed feelings for you, according to Jennifer. Yes, I should have been clearer about boundaries from the beginning. When I realized the misunderstanding, I addressed it directly. She chose to leave rather than continue in a purely professional relationship. Olivia processed this information, searching for deception but finding none in his direct gaze. The adoption papers you showed me yesterday, what exactly are they? Legal documentation acknowledging you as Maya's biological and legal mother, with exclusive parental rights. It would prevent anyone, including me, from ever challenging your custody. And what do you want in return? The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Nothing you don't freely choose to give. Ethan replied carefully. I would like to be part of Maya's life and yours, but only if that's what you want too. The papers come with no conditions. A blue butterfly landed on Maya's outstretched hand, making her giggle with delight. The pure joy on her face reminded Olivia of what truly mattered in this complicated situation. I don't know what I want yet, she admitted. Everything's happened so fast. The job, learning about Maya, you. She met his gaze directly. I need time to build my own life, my own identity with this new understanding, before I can decide what role you should play in it. I understand, Ethan said, disappointment evident, though he tried to hide it. The job remains yours regardless. The program needs you. And if I wanted to leave? Start fresh somewhere else? Pain flashed across his face, but his response was measured. Then I would respect that choice. Provide references, severance, whatever you needed to establish yourself securely. Maya is your daughter. Where she goes, you go. Those decisions are yours alone. The honesty in his answer touched something in Olivia. For the first time since learning the truth, she felt the tension in her shoulders ease slightly. This wasn't the response of someone seeking to control her life, but of someone willing to prioritize her autonomy, even at personal cost. I don't want to leave, she said finally. The program matters to me. The work is meaningful. Maya is thriving. She paused. But I need boundaries. Professional boundaries at work. Personal boundaries in our family connection, whatever that becomes. Hope flickered in Ethan's eyes. Of course. Whatever you need. And complete honesty from now on. No more surprises, no more revelations, no more decisions about my life without my input. You have my word, he promised solemnly. Maya returned, this time with a garden docent who was explaining the butterfly life cycle with enthusiastic hand gestures. The woman paused when she noticed Ethan. Mr. Blackwood, I didn't realize you were visiting today. The new children's garden you funded is nearly complete. Would you like a preview? Maya's eyes widened. You made a garden for kids? Ethan smiled gently. Not exactly. I helped provide funds for the botanical garden to create a special area where children can learn about plants and insects through hands-on activities. Can we see it? Maya asked, bouncing with excitement. Olivia nodded her permission, and the four of them followed a winding path to a secluded area still under construction. Interactive planting beds sized for children, sensory gardens with plants meant to be touched and smelled, and a small amphitheater for educational programs were taking shape amid the landscaping. We're calling it the Lucas Blackwood Children's Discovery Garden, the docent explained, unaware of the emotional impact the name would have on their group. It opens to the public next month. As the woman continued her tour, pointing out features designed to make nature accessible to children of all abilities, Olivia noticed Ethan hanging back, his expression a complex mixture of grief and purpose. This is how you keep his memory alive, she said quietly, joining him while Maya excitedly explored a butterfly-shaped water feature. Ethan nodded. After Lucas died, I established a foundation in his name. The garden is one of many projects it funds, all focused on creating spaces where children can learn through discovery, the way he loved to do. It's beautiful, Olivia said sincerely. A fitting tribute. I never expected to find joy again after losing him, Ethan admitted, watching Maya. But seeing her excitement, her curiosity about the world, it reminds me of him in the best possible way. The honest vulnerability in his voice touched Olivia deeply. This wasn't manipulation or an attempt to replace his son. It was a man who had found a way to transform devastating loss into something that benefited others. As they completed the tour and prepared to leave the gardens, Olivia made a decision. Maya and I usually have pizza and movie night on Fridays. Would you like to join us this week, just as family getting to know each other? No pressure, no expectations. The invitation clearly caught Ethan by surprise. I'd like that very much, he said carefully, trying to contain his evident pleasure at the gesture. I'll text you the address, 7 o'clock, and Ethan? She added as they parted ways. Thank you for giving me space to decide this on my own terms. The smile that lit his face contained more genuine emotion than she'd seen from him since they met. Thank you for the chance to earn your trust. It means everything. 3 months later, Olivia sat in the main conference room at Blackwood Technologies, presenting the preliminary results of the patient advocacy program to the board. The pilot phase had exceeded expectations, with measurable improvements in patient outcomes and significant interest from healthcare providers and insurance companies. As you can see from the metrics, she concluded, gesturing to the screen behind her, families who participated in the program experienced 40% fewer emergency room visits, 32% better medication adherence, and reported dramatically improved quality of life scores. The healthcare system savings alone justify expansion, not to mention the human impact. Even Victoria Hayes, who had remained skeptical, seemed impressed by the data. The insurance partnership model is particularly promising, she acknowledged. I underestimated the financial viability of this approach. Thank you, Olivia replied, maintaining professional courtesy despite their complicated history. We believe this model can be replicated nationally with appropriate scaling. After the presentation, as board members filed out with congratulatory comments, Ethan approached with evident pride. You've transformed this program beyond what I originally envisioned, he said. The board has approved full funding for expansion. We'll need to hire at least 15 more advocates for the next phase. I already have candidates in mind, Olivia replied, gathering her materials, including 3 single parents with healthcare experience who've been struggling to find flexible employment. Ethan's smile was knowing. Taking a page from my hiring playbook. With appropriate professional boundaries and complete transparency, she clarified with a small smile of her own. No hidden agendas, just recognition of untapped talent. Their working relationship had evolved into something neither had anticipated, a genuine partnership built on mutual respect for each other's expertise. The personal side had developed more slowly, with careful steps toward building trust. Friday family nights had become a regular tradition, sometimes at Olivia's apartment, sometimes at Ethan's home, which had gradually transformed from a bachelor's showplace into a space where a child was welcome and comfortable. Maya had her own room there now, decorated with butterfly motifs and filled with books about medicine and science. The question of what to tell Maya of their true relationship remained complex. Child psychologists had advised a gradual approach appropriate to her age and understanding. For now, they had settled on explaining that Olivia was more than a sister to Maya, a special kind of mother-sister that happens sometimes in families. Maya had accepted this with the remarkable adaptability of childhood, primarily concerned with whether this meant she got 2 birthdays. It did not, much to her disappointment. "Are we still on for the zoo tomorrow?" Ethan asked as they walked toward the executive suite. "The new Red Panda exhibit opens this weekend." "Maya's been talking about nothing else all week," Olivia confirmed. "Though I'm still not sure about the fundraising gala next week. It feels too public, too soon." The Blackwood Foundation's annual gala was a major social event in Seattle, bringing together donors, beneficiaries, and community leaders. Ethan had invited Olivia not just as his program director, but as his date, a significant step in acknowledging their evolving personal relationship publicly. "We can skip it," he offered immediately. "Or you could attend officially as the program director, seated at a different table if that's more comfortable." Olivia appreciated his willingness to respect her boundaries, as he had consistently since their conversation in the Butterfly Pavilion. "Let me think about it a bit longer. It's just complicated to figure out what we are to each other sometimes." "It is," he agreed as they reached her office. "But I'm grateful for whatever definition you're comfortable with." Inside, they found Maya engaged in what had become a regular activity shadowing Jennifer as she managed the executive office. Today she was solemnly organizing colored paper clips while wearing her prized lab coat. "Miss Chen," Jennifer greeted Olivia formally, playing along with Maya's game of office. "Dr. Maya has been very helpful with administrative duties this afternoon." Maya beamed with pride. "I sorted all the paper clips by color, and I answered the pretend phone 3 times. "Excellent work, Doctor," Ethan said gravely. "Your organizational skills are most impressive." As Maya launched into a detailed explanation of her filing system, Olivia found herself marveling at how naturally they had formed this unconventional family unit. The path had been complicated, beginning with deception and manipulation, but had transformed into something built on growing trust and genuine care. Later that evening, as Olivia tucked Maya into bed, the little girl asked a question that caught her by surprise. "Is Uncle Ethan going to be my daddy someday?" Olivia carefully sat on the edge of the bed, buying time to formulate a response. "What makes you ask that, sweetie?" Maya shrugged with the straightforward logic of childhood. "Well, Jennifer said sometimes when grown-ups love each other and want to be a family, they get married. And you and Uncle Ethan smile at each other. Like the princes and princesses in my books. Do we?" Olivia asked, both amused and unsettled by her daughter's observation. "And he brings you coffee every morning, and you always say thank you in your special voice." "My special voice?" "The one that sounds like when you tell me I did something really good," Maya explained matter-of-factly. "So is he going to be My daddy? Because Zoe has a daddy and she says they're really useful for reaching high things and giving piggyback rides. Olivia smoothed Maya's hair, buying time to gather her thoughts. Ethan and I care about each other very much, she said. Carefully. But becoming a family is a big decision that grown-ups need to think about very carefully. But we already do family things together, Maya pointed out with impeccable logic. Like movie night in the zoo and making pancakes on Sundays. We do, Olivia acknowledged. And those things might continue, or they might change as we figure out what's best for everyone. The important thing is that you are loved very much. By me and by Ethan, no matter what. This seemed to satisfy Maya, who snuggled deeper under her butterfly-patterned comforter. I think he'd be a good daddy, she murmured sleepily. He never gets tired of answering why questions. After Maya fell asleep, Olivia found herself reflecting on the child's observations. The relationship with Ethan had evolved gradually from professional to personal, from suspicion to tentative trust, from carefully maintained distance to something increasingly resembling family. Her phone buzzed with a text from him, the foundation. Board just approved funding for 5 full scholarships for children affected by the healthcare system. The first recipient will be announced at the gala. I'd love for you to be there, but completely understand if it's too soon. Attached was a rendering of a scholarship certificate bearing the names of both the Lucas Blackwood Foundation and the newly established Maya Chen Future Healers Fund. The thoughtfulness of the gesture honoring both the child he had lost and the one who had unexpectedly entered his life brought tears to Olivia's eyes. This was not the act of someone seeking to control or manipulate, but of a man trying to create meaning from loss and build something positive for the future. She typed back, I'll be there, as your date. But I'm wearing the blue dress, not the black one Jennifer suggested. His response came immediately. The blue brings out your eyes. Perfect choice. Olivia smiled, remembering Maya's observation about their special voices. Perhaps the child saw something the adults were still figuring out, that families could form in unexpected ways, through wrong numbers and mistaken identities, through shared purpose and gradually built trust. 1 week later, Olivia stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the sapphire blue gown she'd chosen for the gala. The woman reflected back was barely recognizable from the desperate, exhausted person who had sent that mistaken text 4 months ago. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. Car will be there in 10 minutes. I have something important to ask you tonight. Olivia's heart skipped a beat, suspecting what the question might be. She wasn't sure yet what her answer would be. Some wounds healed slowly, some trusts rebuilt gradually, but she was certain of one thing. Whatever came next would be her choice, made freely with open eyes and full knowledge. From the living room came the sound of Maya chatting happily with her babysitter, secure in the knowledge that she was loved, that her future was bright with possibilities neither Olivia nor the Chuns could have imagined during those dark days. After her birth, what had begun with a desperate text to a wrong number had transformed into something neither of them could have predicted. A second chance at family, at trust, at healing old wounds. The journey hadn't been straightforward, with its revelations and painful truths, but it had led them here to a moment of possibility neither had dared to imagine. As the doorbell rang announcing Ethan's arrival, Olivia took a deep breath and stepped forward to greet not just her date for the evening, but the complicated, imperfect, well-intentioned man who had somehow become an essential part of their lives. Whatever question he planned to ask tonight, she would face it with the confidence of a woman who knew her own mind and heart, no longer directed by circumstances or others' decisions, but charting her own course forward. The mistaken text that had once seemed like her lowest moment had become, improbably, the first step toward her greatest happiness. The lights of Seattle glittered like fallen stars across the harbor as Ethan guided Olivia through the elegantly decorated rooftop venue of the Blackwood Foundation Gala, crystal chandeliers suspended from the transparent Tent ceiling created the illusion of dining beneath the night sky, while strategically placed heaters warded off the early autumn chill. At each table, centerpieces featured delicate origami butterflies, a subtle nod to Maya's favorite pavilion at the botanical garden. "You've outdone yourself with the planning this year," Olivia commented as they made their way through the crowd of Seattle's elite. Business leaders, healthcare professionals, and philanthropists greeted Ethan warmly, their curious glances at Olivia barely disguised. "Jennifer deserves most of the credit," Ethan replied, "though the butterflies were my suggestion." A distinguished older couple approached, the woman embracing Ethan with genuine affection. "Ethan, darling, the event is magnificent as always. Lucas would be so proud of what you've accomplished in his name." "Margaret, Robert, thank you for coming," Ethan replied, then turned to include Olivia. "I'd like you to meet Olivia Chen, the brilliant mind behind our patient advocacy program, and," he hesitated briefly, "a very special person in my life." The introduction, particularly the latter part, sent a flutter through Olivia's stomach. It was the first time Ethan had publicly acknowledged their relationship as something beyond professional. Margaret's eyes brightened with interest. "The advocacy program is remarkable. Our daughter's hospital is considering implementing a similar model based on your pilot results. We're planning to publish a complete implementation guide next quarter," Olivia replied, falling easily into professional discussion. "The goal is to make the framework adaptable for facilities of various sizes and resource levels." As the conversation continued, Olivia became aware of Victoria Hayes watching them from across the room, her expression unreadable. The board member had maintained professional courtesy since the program's success had become undeniable, but the underlying tension remained. "Don't mind Victoria," Ethan murmured as they moved toward their table. "She's still adjusting to being wrong about both you and the program." "Some people find it difficult to revise their first impressions," Olivia observed, "though I can understand her initial skepticism. Our situation was unconventional." Ethan's laugh was warm. That might be the understatement of the year. Dinner proceeded with the practiced rhythm of well-orchestrated charity events. Between courses, Olivia found herself engaged in conversations with hospital administrators impressed by the program's results, potential donors interested in supporting the expansion, and recipients of previous foundation grants sharing their success stories. Throughout it all, she was acutely aware of Ethan beside her, the subtle touch of his hand at the small of her back as they navigated the room, the pride in his voice when introducing her to longtime foundation supporters, the private smile they shared when someone unwittingly mentioned Maya's fund without realizing its namesake's connection to them. After the main course, Ethan excused himself to prepare for his keynote address. Jennifer appeared at Olivia's side with a glass of sparkling water. "He's nervous," she confided, nodding toward Ethan conferring with the event coordinator near the stage. "I haven't seen him this anxious about a speech since the company's IPO. Really? He seems perfectly calm to me." Jennifer's knowing smile suggested she was privy to information Olivia lacked. "Trust me, I've worked with him for 12 years. When he straightens his cufflinks repeatedly and checks his inside pocket every 30 seconds, he's nervous." Before Olivia could probe further, the lights dimmed slightly and Ethan took the stage. The room quieted as he approached the podium. "Welcome, friends and supporters of the Blackwood Foundation," he began, his voice steady despite Jennifer's observation about his nerves. 7 years ago, when we established this foundation in my son Lucas's memory, I spoke about transforming grief into purpose, about finding meaning in loss by creating opportunities for other children to experience the joy of discovery that Lucas so embodied." He paused, his gaze finding Olivia in the crowd. "What I couldn't have anticipated then was how that mission would evolve, or how the Foundation's work would eventually lead to unexpected healing in my own life." A subtle murmur rippled through the audience at this personal turn. "This past year, The foundation has expanded its focus to include healthcare navigation support for families facing medical challenges. Many of you have heard about our patient advocacy program, which is already transforming how vulnerable families access and experience medical care. Slides appeared on screens throughout the venue, showing statistics and testimonials from the program's first quarter of operation. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that thanks to the program's early success, the Foundation is establishing 5 full scholarships for young people whose lives have been impacted by chronic health conditions. These scholarships, offered through the newly created Olivia Chen Future Healers Fund, will support students pursuing careers in medicine, nursing, patient advocacy, or healthcare administration. Photos of beaming young people appeared on the screens, the first scholarship recipients. Olivia felt tears threatening as she recognized 2 teenagers who had participated in their program's focus groups. The fund's namesake, Maya, is a remarkable young girl who has faced her own health challenges with extraordinary courage, Ethan continued. Her perspective and that of her mother has been instrumental in shaping our approach to family-centered care. He didn't elaborate on their personal connection, a boundary they had agreed upon to protect Maya's privacy, but his gaze again found Olivia's, communicating what words could not. Which brings me to a more personal announcement, Ethan said, his voice taking on a different quality that immediately captured the room's attention. Throughout my business career, I've been known for strategic planning and careful analysis. Those who work closely with me know I rarely make major decisions without extensive research and consideration. Light laughter rippled through the crowd, acknowledging his well-known methodical approach. But sometimes, life's most profound opportunities arise from unexpected moments, a chance encounter, a wrong turn, or in my case, his eyes locked with Olivia's, a mistaken text message. Olivia's breath caught. He wouldn't. Not here, not now. 4 months ago, I received a text clearly meant for someone else. A simple request for help that landed in my inbox through a 1-digit error. Most people would have dismissed it as an amusing anecdote, perhaps shared it as a funny story at dinner before forgetting it entirely. The audience was rapt now, sensing they were being invited into something unexpectedly intimate. Instead, that mistaken text led to a connection that has transformed my understanding of family, of second chances, and of the capacity for healing even the deepest wounds. Ethan stepped away from the podium, moving to the edge of the stage. Olivia Chen came into my life by complete accident, but staying in it has been the most deliberate choice I've made since founding this company. Her brilliance has elevated our patient advocacy program beyond what I envisioned. Her integrity has challenged me to be more transparent, more authentic in both my professional and personal life. Her courage in facing difficult truths has inspired everyone fortunate enough to work with her. Olivia felt heat rising in her cheeks as hundreds of eyes turned toward her. This was far more public than anything she had anticipated or prepared for. I promised Olivia months ago that I would never again make decisions about her life without her full participation and consent. Ethan continued, so while tradition might suggest I should surprise her tonight, I'm instead going to honor that promise by asking a question I've already discussed with her privately. He reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. The collective intake of breath from the audience was audible. Olivia Chen, would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife? Of creating a family together with Maya? Of continuing to challenge me, inspire me, and remind me daily of what truly matters? Though they had indeed discussed marriage privately, a conversation initiated after Maya's innocent question about Ethan becoming her daddy, the public nature of this proposal was unexpected. Yet somehow it felt right. Their relationship had begun with deception and hidden truths. Perhaps this public declaration of intention was the final step in their journey toward complete transparency. Olivia rose from her seat, the room utterly silent as she made her way to the stage. Standing before Ethan, seeing the vulnerability and hope in his eyes, She found herself thinking of the desperate woman who had once texted a stranger begging for grocery money. How inconceivable this moment would have seemed then. "Yes," she said simply, her voice clear enough to carry through the silent room. "Yes, I will." The audience erupted in applause as Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, a sapphire surrounded by smaller diamonds, echoing the blue of her dress rather than a traditional solitaire. Of course he had noticed her preference for colored stones over diamonds alone. As he pulled her into an embrace, he whispered in her ear, "Too public? I can have Jennifer release a statement tomorrow that it was all part of the entertainment." Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.